Hey kiddos, it's your old Uncle Skullface here, and I'm here with a special PSA announcement. Just want to give you a heads up. You know I don't usually do disclaimers, but this video needs one. I was harsh on this figure. Not undeservingly harsh, but I was rough on him. So I just wanted to prepare all of your little feelings to get ready for a ripe old lashing. But with that being said, I only say that to say this. After you watch this video, make sure to watch the Bulldozer video that's coming up behind it, the Toyworld Bone Crusher, because that figure is a lot better. Had I opened and reviewed that one first, maybe I would have been more lenient with this one, but this one is just not as good as that one. So that's just my disclaimer. I hope you guys are enjoying your weekend, and I'll see you soon. What's up, everybody? It's your favorite excavator's favorite nerd. Today we are looking at Toyworld Scavenger. And my first impressions are very good. We're going to talk about a couple things that do bother me, but it's a mixture. It's a mixture, and I'm talking about in this mode, of things that I'm doing to it and its intention. So it's not totally its fault. But before we get into all that, we'll take a look at the accessories. We'll talk about them briefly, and then we'll show how they work a bit later. We have the hand for combiner mode. I will say it feels fine. The joints are all fairly fine. The one thing that's smart is instead of ball joints, they used hinges at the base knuckle. And then another hinge down below. So clever move, Toyworld. I dig it. We'll put it aside for now. We have this, which is an alternate kind of hand, I believe. Let me make sure. Maybe. I think so. It's like a little drill bit, purple plastic, black plastic, no paint. His firearm, which is a black gun, and then black base plastic, and then the red paint is all painted very clean. I dig it. These bits, which might be screw, I'm not exactly sure what these are. I'll look into it before we're done. And then an extra piece of tread, which does worry me, because why would you include an extra piece of tread? But whatever, it's there, so not the worst thing they could offer. So we have this piece as an accessory. This is the forearm, and it's pretty cool. It doesn't quite fit right. We'll talk about that at least easily. There's so many moving parts here that are all pretty smart, in order to make this thing look cool. Obviously, you get that piece here, and we'll talk about all this more when we do the combine mode. But just like these pistons, and then the way that stuff kind of moves, it's just pretty slick. I will say that first and foremost, the paint is brilliant. The yellows, the grays, the silvers, it's all done exceptionally well. The purple translucent plastic is well placed. The green color is spot on. All the silver is painted extremely well. The gray, the pistons. So movement wise, when it comes with like all this. This is part of the problem. We're going to talk about it. But all this tabs in, and then this piece here. This piece here is a pain. Let me get. I have a Speed Demon hand. He'll be coming soon too. So this piece. Let's see. A little bit of the Hasbro dance. It's just a poorly toleranced hinge, or basically a swivel, but it's just on a pin. This one's fine. That one, not so much. But all this comes in, and then these pieces can rotate up and tab in here, and this locks it together. But if you untab them and leave them like that, you do get a ratcheted swivel at the base of the truck, which is cool. And then you get a hinge here, ratcheted, with the piston on both sides, which is nice. You get the hinge here with the piston, and this piston also is on a hinge, so that moves like a champ. And then you get the hinge here with this piece that's on a hinge here, piston into there. And then this is on a hinge as well. So a lot of moving pieces. Looks great. Line work is great. The treads move. I know Lenny laughs every time that I can't get it to roll right on the but they do get a little weird. Do you know what I mean? Like, you move it on your hand and it's fine, but like, it's the plastic. The plastic is like scraping against the piece, kind of, and it's just, that's not ideal. I get the gimmick of it. I'm not sure if I would have preferred that they just didn't do it. But it's not hateful. It's definitely a decent attempt. Red paint in back there looks great. Red paint there looks great in there. But when you untab this, like when you tab this in, it locks it all together. It feels solid. It feels solid as a rock. When you untab it, it starts to kind of lose its general, you know, solidity, for lack of a better term. And that's him. I'll show you a size comparison real quick with Tiger Tracks. You know, that's my go-to. So decent enough, right? Let's get him into arm mode. Now, all right. So this piece comes down on a really tight ratchet, which will probably pay off. And then we connect this piece. Now, how this works is that those two notches in there go into here. These two go into there, and then this clips around that. And it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. I can't quite get it. So I don't know. I can't quite get it around there. Like, there's all sorts of stuff that tabs in there, and I can't quite get it. I don't want to waste too much time. So yeah, there's that. My plastic is damaged on here as well. QC issue. And then you can put the hand in, and you know, it's pretty. It's massive. It's pretty redonkulous, to be quite honest, but looks good. You know, it looks fine. I can't quite get this to. I can't quite get that to go. When I get to combine mode with this set, I'll obviously try in greater attempts, but for right now, with the amount of time I'm willing to spend on it, I can't get it. And maybe I'm making it harder on myself. I've been known to make a job harder on myself, or others even, from time to time. Ooh, you got a lot more to do. How's it going?
Just about done.
Okay, well, might want to speed things up a bit if you want dinner sometime tonight.
There's gotta be some type of law against this.
And real quick, before we transform this guy, these are 5mm ports everywhere, so his gun will peg in in a few places, maybe, or at least that one, maybe that one. So the first initial step of transformation is to untab these black pieces that I told you were already tabbed in when they come in and I untab them. But now I'm having a hard time getting them to go back, which is an irritating thing. But you untab them and flip them back. Underneath, flip this piece up. It says, not sure why you need to do that now, but and then you can separate the legs. Then bring the legs 90 degrees down. At the bottom, take the feet, open them up, and wrap them around the treads like that. And like that. Alright, for these, you want to bring these up and they tap in together like that. Fold that piece out, that'll unpeg it from that little spot, you know what I mean? Like that. Bring this piece here down and the hip up. Until you can. And you want to tab them in together right there. Which is, once again, easy. There it is. And it seems like it's just a matter of finding that sweet spot. Now create the body by bringing this piece up, and these two tabs go into those two openings. In theory, there. Pull these side pieces out like that. On the back, take these panels, flip them around, and then flip these down. Bring out these gray pieces here, which is not the easiest thing to do. Like that. And then bring your two pieces up. There. Now you got to work with this piece. Open it up, spin it around, bend it back on itself and back down so that these two pieces here are facing this right, like same thing, right underneath. Take these side pieces here, rotate them up and back in, bring this arm down and this arm down. Untab a few things you have to untab. These on the top, and then these on the bottom, which is a little bit more difficult. And that will allow you to extend the arms down and bring this down, bring this down, and then you fold that back around on itself and fold these back down. Bring the hands out the same way that everything does it. Open up the forearm, spin the hand out, close it back. Open up the forearm, spin the hand out, bring it back. Alright, this part kind of eats me up, but we'll try to get our way through it. So untab here and here. Fold those pieces back in on itself. Untab there and there. And then bring this whole piece up, and then these hinges are here. And what you have to do, tight like a tiger. So I had to use a screwdriver and my teeth because of how tight all these ratchets were. But this is how you want it, looking at it from the side with the front this way. The peg here at the top, black block coming out to one and then bending up to the other, so that when you bend this down, it sits like that. Now that is how they suggest, and then you pull the head up, but I think I prefer it, now that I've gotten this loosened up a bit. I think I prefer it like this, and then tuck it around like that, I think. So that's how I'm doing mine. You guys can do yours however you want. Tab those in, and then bring the head up. And lastly, you take this, and you just kind of fold it up the best you can. This, I'll tell you, this piece here gets jammed up on me. There. Is that it? No. There it is. So if you get that problem too, just pull back on the head and then pull up a little bit. So yeah, hinge swivel. You got light piping in the back. You know how I feel about that. I feel like it's antiquated, but works fine. And the silver paint is on there, and that's all you get. Moving down, we got the red paint there. That looks good. The silver looks good. I feel like they should have painted these silver, these side wings. I feel like that's a fairly big oversight. Shoulders, we got a swivel here where it plugs into the torso, and then the hinge here. You got to move the flap in order to get the hinge out. And that's how that operates. Bicep swivel, you got gray paint on there, nothing else. You got a double hinged elbow getting you the full range. That paint still shows through pretty well on both sides, so that's good. Silver paint there. Swivel at the wrist that's too tight. And then all of the fingers are on individual ball joints. Definitely not the worst, not as bad as some of the stuff that we've seen with X-Transbots and stuff and KFC. but you know, I still don't like ball joints. I don't like individualized articulated fingers either, but I especially don't like them when they're ball joints. You can kind of get a hinge too here out of the hand, but it kind of breaks up the sculpt a little bit. Same for the other side. His gun plugs into that tab there, so he holds it like a champ on both sides. Waist swivel, and then ball jointed hips, and much like Combiner Wars, the hips are having a hard time staying together for me. And then the ball joints are on hinges here too, so you get that downward movement as well. Front, no problem. And side to side, you kind of have to split it back apart in order to get it, but it is possible. But it's not the way it's designed to go. And then you got to get it back together. I don't think I have what it takes at the moment to do that. It has a thigh swivel. It's in there. It works fairly well. It gets you a decent range. Not an extreme range by any stretch of the imagination, but it is pretty clever given that this and then this knee guard behind it, and the knee guard keeps the track together while the knees bend. That's super smart. Very cool idea. Same for the other side. And then the feet are on hinges here, and then they're on the hinge here at the base, so you get the ankle tilt, and like a foot rocker on both ends to kind of fake it till you make it, but it works just fine. Red paint there, gray paint there. I wish they would have done more paint up in here, and I wish they would have done more paint up in there. And then you get all of that on the back, which is less than perfect. I probably will just have it down and use it as a. That's really the only option unless you take pins out to remove it. Actually, I think you gotta take the whole thing apart if you want to remove it. But that's just the cards that you're dealt with this bad boy. Size comparison wise, there he is next to a Masterpiece Jet, so almost the same size. There he is next to Generation Toy Scraper. So that should give you an idea. Final thoughts. I wish I could tell you something better than what I have to tell you. And it's not that this is bad. It's fine. But here's the problems with it. The tolerances are not right, and they're frustrating, and it makes the whole experience of the toy a pain in the butt. There's some really smart decisions here, and then there's some decisions that aren't so smart. One of those decisions being this pointing hand right there. He's got the old DX9 Tyrant hand. So he pretty much is limited to hold a gun or have a relaxed pose, and that's the end of it. I do feel like he needed more paint in those two areas, and I feel like he needed some more paint on his legs. The leg articulation is hindered unless you break up the sculpt, and then it's kind of a pain to get back together because of tolerance issues. Every time that you mess with them or manipulate them in any extreme ideas, you do feel like you're putting some stress on the tracks. It's not the worst, but you definitely feel it. There's other little decisions that I wish they would have made, like little, because there are some smart choices here, so it's kind of confusing that they wouldn't do stuff like, if you want, you can get this piece, you can double hinge this up and around to get that up on his shoulder, but it doesn't peg in anywhere. If they would have allowed you somewhere to peg it in, it just would have been a nice little smart added bonus that they didn't do. And then, of course, you know, there's the matter of all of that, which is a lot. And I understand that this character is just designed in a way where it makes it a bit difficult to do anyway. But like, see, like this is my problem with them. Like every time I go to mess with them, and something comes undone, it's frustrating to get it to go back together again. And which brings me to another issue that I have with this fellow, which is that the ball jointed hips and then their connections to these hinges here that connect these two pieces together is where a lot of problems lie. So the hinges are too tight because this thing is not well toleranced. So when you go to manipulate the ball hinge that's on the hip that gives you the up and down, the vertical movement, it unplugs it here from the pelvis because the hinge brings the pelvis with it. And then the ball joint itself isn't really the best idea to to have for the amount of weight that this guy has. He does have ratcheted knees, so that helps break up the weight distribution. But other than that, the pelvis kind of fails with this guy. It's not unlike Combiner Wars. It's much better than Combiner Wars, don't get me wrong. It does a much better job than Combiner Wars does. But it's not unlike it in the sense that that's where it has connectivity problems. And then lastly, because of the tolerance, I just want to drive that home because it is an issue here. I have little plastic pieces of green and purple everywhere on my mat because it's shaving pieces off as you manipulate it because they're just not tolerant well. This guy does have his pluses though. The paint that is applied great, and they're pretty liberal with it, to be quite honest. There's a fair amount of paint on this guy and it's all really well done. The materials, great. They feel great. They don't feel like masterpiece great, but they feel like really good materials. Solid materials. Almost kind of similar to where I would like, and I'm not talking about the tracks, but like the overall body bulk reminds me a little bit of how Feral Rex feels. Not quite as dense, but in that ballpark. The face sculpt, dead on. The overall likeness to the G1 is pretty much spot on. Now, my end goal with this set is to have a bot display of the Constructicons for my Masterpiece shelf, and I think in the end it'll do just fine. I also think that for Toyworld, it's a pretty well-made product. Toyworld doesn't necessarily make a bad product, but I feel like they make a very run-of-the-mill product, and I feel like this is a step above what you're used to with them. It's just that they've had some growing pains along the way. But once again, I love the paint, I love the materials, I love the sculpt, I love the design, I hate the tolerances. I can recommend them to you, but it's not a strong recommend. The articulation is there, the legs get a little crazy, but who knows if it would have been tolerance better if it wouldn't have annoyed you as much. There is an incredible amount of smart decisions, like some of the stuff that I kind of feel like I saw them start to do with their throttle bots, like I can see in this, like the way that all that, not so much the poor tolerance ratchets there, but the way that all these hinges and stuff flipped up, manipulated to able to flip back down. These panels here that flipped up and then flipped back down in order to keep the sculpt tight. And then, of course, the way that the knees, these pieces were able to break up, reverse back, and then keep the treads together when you bent the knees. I mean, that's brilliant, brilliant stuff. It's very masterpiecey in that regard, and just in that regard. Even the bottom feet are pretty clever. So there's smart stuff going on here. There's good materials. There's good paint. There's good sculpt. There's just some poor tolerances. If this thing would have been tolerance like a champ, and if they would have been able to clean up some of that a little bit better, or at least give you some more options, I think you might have been close to a home run. So I hope that helps. I'm going to be getting both this and Generation toys, so we'll be comparing them as we go. But with that being said, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.